Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Mexpat Dating. I'm here with Kyle today. Kyle just finished up a cold approach journey with me, to say.
Mm.
And today we're going to find out a little bit about his experience and what he's learned through working with Mexpat Dating. So, first question I have for you, Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to want to start getting out and doing cold approach.
Yeah, so I had always wanted to do this, actually, and I was intimidated by the environment. I had one time where there was a girl at a Soriana, very cute, made clear eye contact. I knew what it meant, but I didn't do anything about it because I just was not used to meeting women in a normal, everyday environment. I was very used to bars and clubs and friends' house parties and things, but I wasn't used to this. And so I had actually already been trying to force myself to do this. Actually,
Okay.
and I was taking such baby steps. I was doing like, okay, you're gonna go out and you're gonna say hi to someone one time a day for a week, and then you're gonna ask them how their day was or whatever it is. I was making these very incremental steps, and then I ran into you at a bar, and you were like, I do this, and I was like, wow, that's great. I mean, I've been wanting to do this. I've been trying to teach myself, and it just hasn't been working out. So yeah. So
That's where it
then
began.
that's where we began. And also I thought you were cool.
Oh,
So
thanks, mate.
yeah.
Likewise, likewise. And you're an interesting story because most guys we meet usually kind of are out of the dating sphere altogether. But you are doing really well already at night game. You could go to a club, you could pick up a woman pretty easily. So it was interesting to hear that. Hey, like, look, I just want to be able to advance my skills beyond just a nightclub. And you made very fast progress. So that's why I enjoyed working with you because you take instruction really well, and you're like, hey, I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to do the work. So yeah, what was your, I guess, frustration about your practice before starting to work together? Like,
I think it was fundamentally just that I want to live a life without regrets. I don't want to have the environment determine my actions. And that's what I was cognizant was actually happening. And so
Okay.
I mean this was already on the list of things I wanted to do. It's just, serendipity that we met and you happened to be teaching that and you were like, oh, I do this. And I was like, oh, great. Like if you remember, like we were there and I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, I'm trying to do that. That's so
Right.
great. You know?
That was so cool because usually
Yeah.
when people say that, we're like, all right, they say it's cool, and then maybe
Yeah,
they'll,
yeah.
we'll never see them again. But you were like, yeah, I want to come through.
It was it
Do
was
it.
very serendipitous. I was so excited. I was like, oh, that's great.
And like, so you yourself, like you told me, you would go out there, you were trying to do approaches, and you just couldn't quite like get it for yourself. And what was
Yeah.
some of that?
Yeah, so I think a big part of this was just you being like, no, you're just going to do this. And I was like, well, I'm here to do this and you're telling me to do it, so I'm just going to do it. It's just getting over that initial hump, that inertia at
Sure.
the beginning. The very first time we ran a session together, I mean, you were just like, go talk to her. And I was like, okay. And it was previously I'd be like, I should talk to her, and then I just wouldn't. And so
Yeah.
just that little push, it wasn't little. I mean, your advice and everything was great, but I mean, like, just that forcing me to do it and get over it was incredibly valuable.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then I could take the homework and be like, okay, now I know what this is like. I've done this sort of in a friendly environment, more controlled environment. You're going to tell me to do it. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Then I had to sort of teach myself to do it on my own. It's hard in the beginning, but it is very worthwhile and very rewarding in the end.
Oh, that's
And you feel a sense of freedom once you've done it. You feel like,
Yeah.
you're being your authentic self by getting to know these women that you're attracted to. And sometimes you can tell they're into you too. And it's sort of it would be a shame to be in that Soriana and feel that attraction and know that it's essentially an invitation and that you just sort of deny. I mean, you're kind of rejecting
Yourself.
the girl and yourself at the
yourself.
same time
Yes.
for absolutely no reason, right? Like just because, like, oh, I have this script that this is just not something people do or that I do or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So working through that was great.
Oh, huge,
Yeah.
man. And you pointed on a really good point about the accountability. And I think, that's what I struggled with first. And I know a lot of you guys probably have that same thing. Like, it's not hard once you're in it and you're starting to do it.
Yeah.
It's really just that first push and facing that initial fear. So when I got a coach as well, when I started my cold approach journey, it helps so much. I'm like, okay, one, I pay this guy money, so it'd be a waste of money not to do
Totally.
it.
Cognitive inertia.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just knowing that someone else was there to believe in me and not judge me for it. I think that was
Yeah.
really important too.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, lack of judgment is important in so many areas. And I think that so frequently, like, I consider myself a person who really enjoys learning new things.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't judge myself for trying out salsa and being bad at salsa, or like aprendendo portugués and I'm bad at Portuguese in the beginning. But for whatever reason, because to some extent, like our identity and our masculinity is tied up with our success with women, it's very easy to judge ourselves for being bad at this. When it's very silly, because I mean, why objectively, why would you be good at something you've never done? You know,
Right, bro. That's
super silly.
That's huge, man. We can be so hard on ourselves. Like, wow, that girl didn't want to go on a date with me. It's something about me.
Exactly, it's my fault somehow.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
And I think a big mindset shift is we're realizing that, like, you being in the game is a win in itself. Like, the fact that you even have an opportunity to get rejected. I mean, I was afraid of that for years. I was like, I'd rather not get rejected than possibly have the chance of success. And
yeah,
yeah,
totally. You miss all the shots you don't take.
Damn right.
All that sort of a thing, right? And it's so
So
true.
true.
And you gain from it regardless of if it works out or not.
oh yeah,
Because you're building your courage. You're building, like, you know, the atomic habits of it all. Like, you're building a track record for yourself of, if I want to do this, I'm going to be genuine to myself and to the person and whoever, and go for it. And even if it doesn't work out, you talked about this last session. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out, but you're still providing value to the girl in that
Yeah,
interaction. Like, you
definitely.
met a girl and she was married, and she's like, "Oh, I'm married," and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's totally fine." Like, as long as you're approaching with respect and sort of an open-minded, open-heartedness. You know, she probably went home and told her husband, like, "Guess what happened to me that on my run today," or whatever
Sure.
it is, right? And that's a beautiful thing.
It's a value add.
You know, it's a sharing energy with the universe kind of a thing. So,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love how you take that holistic approach of it.
Mhm.
I think that's why we connected, because
Yeah.
you almost view it from a spiritual perspective. Now, coming back to practicality, something that we worked on as well is your texting. So this is something that you got, I mean, you made leaps and bounds, but it was something that you were struggling with, and
Totally.
we really kind of started dissecting. So can you share kind of what you were struggling with texting, and because you get a lot of numbers and stuff.
Yeah, I think to some extent with texting, I first of all don't enjoy texting, and
It's an honest answer.
so I never really like I never was cognizant of it being a sort of flaw in my approaches, you know, because I kind of disregarded it in general because I just knew I didn't like it.
Okay.
What was I doing wrong? I mean, I thought that texting had to be continuing a conversation and being witty and being fun and all of these things, which is why I didn't like it. And then when it changed to, let's just do texting for the logistics, the like setting things up, it was so much easier, actually. Like, I hated it less because I felt like it was, you know, less a distraction of like, let me think about some callback humor thing that I have to do or whatever it is, and much more about, okay, great, like, I already made the connection, let's just leave this to more connection.
Sure.
And that's a way easier and way less, you know, way less thought has to go into that,
Yeah.
actually, which is like such a win from both ends, right? Like,
Yes.
it's less distracting for me, and it has the effect of actually moving things along way smoother.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like such a win-win, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And when we looked at your texting originally,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of guys do this. It's like no
Uh-huh.
criticism, just what it was.
Oh, yeah.
You-
Dig in, man. Like, by all means, I mean,
Dude, his texting, bro. Oh my god. So you would
Totally
text
fun.
a lot, like
Yeah.
a lot. Like you would
Yeah.
have real long conversations with girls. And I think something that really helped you and what we worked on was really saying, hey, let's keep it 3 to 5 messages, get to the point, set up the date, right?
Totally.
Because what I saw with your messages is you would have this huge conversation, and obviously the girl was having a good time, but then nothing would come from it. And it's
Definitely.
like, we're all busy guys, right? So we can't really waste our time sitting around texting a girl all day. So when we,
Yeah.
you know, just having a few things to say that lead to the date, and you know, you might, I think what a lot of guys want is they want to create that connection over the phone so they don't get rejected. Like, hey, if I make her fall in love with me over text, there's no way she's not going to want to see me or go on a date with me. And what I think the big awakening is for a lot of guys is they realize that actually hurts them because it shows to the woman that all I have to do today is text you. I don't have anything else going on. I'm not busy, right? I don't even know you, but I'm putting this much energy and investment into you.
Yeah.
Versus where when you set up the date and grab a coffee, you're like, okay, that's the investment. She shows up for the date, she's interested, right? And that's way easier than just, you know, she could be in her pajamas in her bed, like Netflix on, texting you, right? So there's not really as much connection as I think guys
Yeah,
think.
totally. I mean, it's such like a low information environment too.
Ah, okay.
Like, you can tell so much more about a person just sitting next to them, like reading their body language, their voice, like how they react to certain things, little facial tics, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas texting, you just have a message, and it's like, is this person being sarcastic or no? Like, what's even going on? It's like such a information poor communication channel. I think would be the
Dude, 100%,
thing.
bro.
Yeah, and I just find it so annoying. So that's the thing. Like, I thought I needed to do all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Because no one had ever been like, you don't need to do this, and I was just like, well, you know, I just need to, I guess. You know, it's you know, sometimes you have these sort of preconceived notions that you're not aware are just notions.
Yes.
You know, you very well take them to be truth because they're your reality, and your perception is your reality, and all this stuff. And
Definitely.
then someone's like, actually, no, and you're like, oh, okay, great,
Sweet.
yeah,
Did my life get better? It did. Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Let's roll with it.
yeah.
I think to your point too on texting can be misconstrued. Yeah, because there's been girls that you as well. You text them and they're almost a different person over text, and you see them in person, they're just a completely different person. You're like, and you almost get attached to the texting relationship
Totally.
versus like what's in real person. So I think those are some great points, man. So now, important question for you: were you skeptical before starting to work with us? Because
Oh, definitely, of course.
honest answer. No, dude, I appreciate it, man. I knew the answer, but it's funny to hear you say it. Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's funny actually. I mean, y'all have a great system of, you know, the free first hour, first sesh, right? Is actually great. I think both for you and for me, because I was like, oh, I'll just go to this free sesh and maybe that'll be it, but I'll get some
something out of it.
lessons, and I think I'm quick at learning, so I kind of thought I would just figure it all out off of the free sesh.
Okay.
Actually, that was like kind of my goal going in.
Okay.
And you know, I thought you were cool and whatnot, but I was like, I don't really have the money to spend on this. It's important, but I was in sort of a financially tricky situation, and so on and so forth. And then I learned a lot, but I realized there was a ton more to learn. I think we just really connected.
Yeah.
I think it's great from y'all's perspective too, because you're feeling out like, do I want to work with this person?
For sure.
You know, and it should always be mutual screening, right?
Yeah.
In friendship, in business, and in relationships, right? In all of this. So I was skeptical, yeah, but the first sesh really, I don't know, got rid of the skepticism. I was like, okay, this is the real deal. This is
let's
great.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I knew you were skeptical. Like
Yeah.
you told me, you're like, and it's fair. Like, dude, like if you met a random guy at the club that isn't like does dating coaching, which what the hell does that mean? And you know, it almost sounds like a gimmick, to be fair. So I think I would have been the same way. I've been like, all right, he's giving me a free session. Like, let's see. And I think we worked something out that was mutually beneficial. And I knew you were going to succeed really well. And that's why I pushed you again to work with us, because if you would have shown up and you'd be like, oh, I don't really want to do an approach today, like probably another day, but thanks. You know, I've been like, all right, he's not really taking this serious.
Yeah, totally.
But the fact that you went and you did 4 approaches and they were all good and you got numbers with really hot women, bro. I was like,
dude, no, that was
like,
the
dude,
first
that's
real sesh. The first sesh that we did, actually, I only got 1 number.
oh,
If you remember, I was quite bad the first one.
but you approached 4 very
did
attractive
approach,
women,
yeah,
and that's
definitely.
what showed me like,
Yeah.
and you didn't hesitate.
And I went for it. Yeah,
Yep,
you're
yep.
like, you're gonna do this. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do
I'm
this.
here.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you just had obviously some kinks to iron out.
Oh, absolutely.
The fact
Yeah.
that you were like, dude, she's too hot for me. You're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, all right. What's the worst that could happen? I
No,
get
it
rejected.
was great because there was this accountability of like, I'm here to do this. So like, how am I going to evaluate you as a coach if I'm not doing the work to put in for you to coach me, first of all?
Yeah.
And then, you know, just you being like, do this. And I was like, okay, great. I don't have to think about should I or shouldn't I. I think that's a big piece of inertia a lot of times, right? Is you're like, well, you know, like I had this week, I was having to run to the bank for some nonsense, and I was like, oh my god, I got to get to the bank now because I need this much time because they close at this time, and I like kind of didn't have the time. Even if I had seen a girl that I would have wanted to talk to, I just wasn't there. But having made the space to be like, I'm doing this for an hour for no other reason. There's no like should I, shouldn't I. He's telling me to do it. I just got to do it.
Yeah.
Simplified a lot of that stuff that can hold you back
Oh, nice.
from just reacting in the moment, I think.
Gotcha.
And I think that was somewhat transformative.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, because that's the one thing I know is you were very reactive. Like you didn't think about it, you just went for it. And you know, you might not be at that level, guys. Like, and that's okay. Like because he's had experience approaching women in other areas. Like with Simon, for example, who you've seen on the channel, he takes a lot longer to kind of build up the courage to do it. Right. But that's kind of what we're here for. We're here to help you any step of the way. And really, like we said earlier in the interview, once make that action to go talk to her,
Mhm.
and you actually say the first words out of your mouth, it's such a different experience.
Oh, dude, the world closes in on you.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
before,
huge
you're
bubble.
like, oh man, like I'm gonna do this at this cafe. Like all these people are gonna be looking at me and judging me. And then once you're in that interaction, you don't have the headspace. Certainly, I don't. Maybe you do. You're the expert, but you don't have the headspace to worry about the rest of it. You're just in the interaction and trying to
No.
feel out the girl, and is there really a mutual connection,
Yep.
like a positive energy there? I mean, it is transformative, but it's just that getting over the hump of, am I going to do this? Am I not? To just, I'm gonna
just
do
gonna
this.
do
I'm
it,
doing this,
yeah.
and now I'm in it, and now we're talking, and I got to react, and I got to think a little bit, and I'm trying to feel this girl out. Am I interested? Am I not? Like all that good stuff.
Yes.
Right? So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of guys will find, you found this, I found
Mhm.
this, is that because there'd be a moment I do approaches and I'd be looking to see if anyone was looking, and to my disappointment, nobody gave a shit.
to your disappointment, yeah.
No one was like taking videos, no one is even looking because they don't care. Like people don't care about you as much as you
Yeah,
think.
yeah, totally.
And one, everyone's focusing on themselves.
Totally.
And two, when you're actually in the approach, you're doing it. When you see two people talking, you have no idea what they're talking
Mhm.
about. You just and you don't want to be nosy, so you just mind your own business, and that's what people do.
And it looks innocuous,
It looks innocuous.
doesn't, I mean,
Yeah.
certainly done right, it's the only way you'd notice is when they're walking and they stop, and it could just as easily be two
Yeah.
people who just ran it. Like I ran into a
Exactly.
friend earlier today. Like,
You did, yeah.
oh yeah, what's up, dude? Like,
Yep. And no
Same.
one was like, dude, is he approaching that dude?
Exactly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So great.
Super low key.
So great points there, Kyle. I couldn't agree more. So last question for you, Kyle. How has your dating life changed in the last 30 days, 2 months since we started working together?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I have, like, to take sort of this marketing approach, like a wider top funnel,
Yeah.
because I'm just meeting people in more organic environments. The profile is different. I used to need to go out to meet people, and now I don't. Now I can meet someone. I mean, I met someone while biking the other,
Oh,
a
sweet.
couple weeks ago, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I already know we have something in common. We both like biking. Like there's a certain. I haven't quite figured it out, quite frankly.
Okay.
Like I think
That's
I'm
awesome.
going on more dates, certainly, because I'm here and I'm being cognizant of this and trying to be, have momentum and do this as sort of a daily practice and things like that, and that naturally leads to more dates. Like the types of girls I'm meeting, I'm not entirely sure what specific differences there are necessarily, but certainly, like if I take it out of just like my dating life context, like I am living a life with fewer regrets. I'm living a life of greater freedom. I'm living a life that feels more in tune with how I want it to be.
Yeah.
I'm like living. My reality is what my dream was, even a year ago, in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
That's a beautiful thing.
Even outside of the dating context. I mean, certainly in the dating context, it's great. I think that there's plenty of more room for me to sort of optimize and play with it and sort of figure out what I want to get out of it in a more intentional way.
Sure.
But you've shown me, like, you've given me enough to take it the rest of the way that I want to go. Does that make sense? Like I can take it from here and sort of, be more intentional about it, be more mindful about it, be more present with it, figure out more what I want to do with it, I think. So it's just having that tool set. And I think we were talking about this today, right? Of 2 months ago, it wasn't even an option because I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, honestly, which is wild because at night I'm never terrified, but in the daytime I was terrified. And then it went from being not an option in the negative sense to being not an option, like I had to do it because I felt like I needed the momentum because I knew that another 2 weeks is going to see you again and you're going to be like, all right, now we're going to do this. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I got to be ready. I got to be going with it. And now it feels like, just an option. Like there's going to be days where I just don't have the time or I'm not in that headspace or I'm running around or I'm angry at the bank because they're really messing with me this week. And then there's times where I'm just sort of at peace with the universe and I can go on a little walk. And if something, if I see someone, then that's an option now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And there's a beautiful freedom in that.
Nice, man.
So
That's beautiful, man. And we've heard that before, like from other people, like, and that's kind of what I've noticed too. Like the world changed a bit, where you go outside and no longer it's like, okay, I'm going to the bank, I'm gonna go home. Hopefully, I don't see people. You're just like you see all this opportunity suddenly with people in general, like not just women, because you can create business relationships, you can create all of that. You're just more confident. And what I've seen with you is that I've seen it help your night game as well.
That's interesting.
I've seen it help you be able to understand dating better. Like now you just have and you might not be able to see it yet.
No, I don't. I think that's very interesting. I'm very curious now.
Because you have this skill, there's a part of you maybe your conscious doesn't see it, but your subconscious knows, like, I've kind of got it together. I've figured out what this skill that, this rare thing that a million years ago, if we didn't know this, we would been ostracized by our group, and we'd, back in the day. So like primally, there's a part of you that's like, okay, like I'm good now. Like I'm safe in this world. I'm safe to do what I please. Obviously, in the
like
context.
An even greater security that I now have.
Exactly.
Because I know that even in the context which feels the riskiest, it's actually not that risky.
For sure.
It's totally under control, because there is a way to do this that is respectful and that is sort of, calibrated, skillful. Like,
yes.
If it doesn't work out, that's fine. No one's offended. Like, it can add value to anyone.
Yeah.
Even when it doesn't work out. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I've noticed you get more dates too. We've talked about this, because I think there's something, just like I said, women can pick up on that stuff, the fact that you now have this skill, I'm sure maybe, and again, you maybe can't say, but when you're on dates, you're more confident, you're more present. You're like, okay, I know I can run a better text sequence, right? So that's all that stuff is going to give you confidence when you're in your zone, because your zone is night game. That's to be fair. I think you can become an expert at day game as well, but in terms of what, like, you've taught me about night game, actually. Quite a lot. So if you guys want to know about night game, hit up Kyle, Coach Kyle.
Or no.
And
please don't.
That's the honest answer.
That might be 2025.
Yeah, that's 2025.
I'm trying to get the passive income. It's still not passive, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun income. Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, you being in those environments now, like, okay, I'm gonna meet this girl at this club, and I'm actually like, there's more confidence you're gonna get her on a date, because you're not gonna text for 7 weeks and all that stuff. So it's been great to see your progress, man, and to see your transformation. And I knew you were gonna get it quickly, and now today we're out for a session and we're just approaching, because
just as friends.
Just as homies.
And it was nice, we got a couple numbers, and it felt like,
and we like work off each other well, because it's like there's almost like when you start going out with buddies, like, I see him do one. It's like, well, I could stand there and watch, or I might as well go do one too. And
exactly.
That's what happened today. Like, it's like, I could just watch Joel do it, or I'll go do it. And then we both got the number. It was really cool. So, guys, I'm happy that you guys got to meet Kyle, and you got to see that, this really is possible to do very quickly. I mean, we only worked together for a couple months, and you're on your own.
Four sessions.
So, that's what I'm here for. And obviously, Jaren's here. We're here to teach you this as fast as possible, so you can start creating that life for yourself. Create your own script. Create your own process that works for you. Because although we're going to give you the tools to get you, into the game, basically, you're going to find what works best for you. How you throw the best. How you talk the best. The texting that works best for you, right? So, really, we want to encourage you that, like, don't take what we say as gospel. Use it as a starting ground to get you the momentum, to get you that accountability, and then from there you can really create your own identity for yourself. Because I mean, for me, like, 3-4 years ago, I hadn't even gotten laid before, and it's like, if I would have copied everything I learned verbatim, I would be a mess right now. I'd be trying. Oh, he said this. So eventually, I've developed my own thing, and that's what I'm teaching
So much
you.
of this is like any great art. Like, you learn the basics in a structured way, and once you're good enough, you can play with those basics, play with expectation, and make it truly your own. And that's when you're truly expressing yourself, like your own personality, your own way of doing things. I mean, we were talking about that today. Like, I used your sort of your routine in the beginning, and then I was like, well, actually, there's certain pieces of this that aren't necessarily so me. And I wasn't aware of that at the beginning, because it was all so new. And I was like, okay, well, this is a good structure, skeleton, foundation, whatever it was, right, to get started. And then once I'd done it enough, then I started seeing areas where I was like, oh, I should throw this in, because this is more me, and things like that. And so that's when I felt comfortable. And I was like, you know what, I think I've got the hang of it, right? So,
Love that, man. Because you speak way better Spanish than me, so.
So it's a very different dynamic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, like, Portuguese, like, if I can speak Portuguese to someone, I'm like so excited in general. That's like plus points.
Yeah. Sorry, guys,
that's
I'm
like
not
a
going to
me
be able to
thing.
teach you Portuguese, but that's what Coach Kyle said. No, I'm just kidding. So just like in sports, yeah, like when someone taught me how to throw the football, if I threw it exactly the way they did, it would come off like weird. And like I noticed that from the beginning, like my scripts didn't work specifically perfect for you.
Yeah, and we started adjusting them even like the
Pretty-
second time, because
pretty
I'm not a
quickly,
big guy on Instagram, and I don't really aspire
Correct.
to be.
Yes.
And I, so there's definitely certain elements of this that we had to play with, and you're
Yeah.
a flexible coach, and you're like, yeah, that's a great point. Like, we'll change this up. And so, yeah, I mean, it was mutual.
It was
great.
it
Yeah.
was awesome, brother.
Yeah, dude.
It's
It's
fucking,
great.
I'm so glad we
Yeah,
met, and
Same.
so glad that we get to go out and do this now as friends.
Yeah,
And
hell yeah.
it's really cool. And so yeah, guys, once again, glad you got to meet Kyle. If this is something that you think could be helpful to you, like it was for him, we definitely invite you to schedule a call with us down below. You might be in other areas, not in Mexico City, but that's okay. We can hop on like that, 30-minute, 40-minute call with you, and we can just kind of figure out like, okay, where you are in your dating process, what could be helpful for you, and then how we can start to put that into action. Again, we're here for you. We're excited to be able to share what we've learned and get you results like Kyle, because if you can just focus and put the work in for a short amount of time, you can really have a completely different life beyond dating, right? Beyond, you'll meet awesome friends, you'll meet, good community of guys, which I think you need as a man to have a masculine network. And then as well with the dating, like, man, it's sometimes I'll lay in bed and just be like, I dreamt of this as a kid. Like, this is reality. Like, this is mind blowing. Right?
Yeah.
Again, guys, schedule that call down below in the link, and we are so excited to meet you and get you going on your dating journey. So that, guys, talk to you soon. Ciao.